Okay, I don't feel like this video needs much an introduction, nor is there really much a story for this, but I'll try anyways. This is a video that I've wanted to make for a very long time now. I used to love watching videos of YouTubers' top 10 lists when I was younger, from video games to wrestling matches, etc. Now that I'm older and I feel I not only have my list of games down, but I'm also in a position to make this video with the content switch that I've done, I figured it would be a good idea to finally make it now. Do keep in mind though that this is just my personal ranking, so if there's a game you feel is missing, well, it is my list, so I mean, what do you expect? I would love to hear your list down below, so please do share it with me. Without further ado, here are my top 10 favorite games of all time. One of the earliest things I can remember getting put onto when I was younger was the Dragon Ball franchise. My dad had all the games, toys, and anime box sets of Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and GT, as well as all the movies. Plus my sister was into it as well. What I always enjoyed playing were the games, more so than anything else. I'd play the Budokai Tenkaichi franchise on my dad's PS2, as well as try to get all the new releases of the games on PS3, and admittedly some were better than others. I played some pretty good Dragon Ball games, and some pretty shitty ones too. However, there was always one game in the series that was by far my favorite, and just barely beat out a couple of other games on here to secure the 10th spot, and that game was Dragon Ball Raging Blast 2. Originally releasing in November of 2010, I remember constantly playing this game when I was younger. For starters, it had to this very day the best Dragon Ball character roster across any of the games. It had every type of character you needed, from your mainstays as well as all their Super Saiyan forms, the best villains, and my personal favorite, the lesser known and obscure characters. The game also includes an entire movie in there as well, which was always fun to watch. It had to this day one of my favorite character designs in Hachiek, which outside of Heroes and Dokkan I believe is pretty much his only appearance. The gameplay is also great too, being even better than it was in the first Raging Blast, just more refined. With all this being said, there's one element of the game that was by far my favorite and did enough to secure the 10th spot, and that was the Galaxy mode. This was this game's story mode, replacing the Dragon Ball collection from the first game. In Galaxy mode, instead of doing the traditional what-if scenarios from the series' main story, you were able to play each character in the game, which had their own planet in the game's galaxy. Within these planets are several mission paths. Each mission has a various advantage or handicap that will affect the overall fight. Completing these missions would unlock power-ups, characters, and other mission paths not just in your character's planet, but in the others as well, tying everything together. It made going through it addicting and equally as rewarding as well. This is for sure a nostalgia pick, but I mean, isn't this entire list that? This is how you know it's my list when I put something like this in here. Okay, so I don't want to spend too much time on this portion of the topic because I have another video I'm working on that will lean more into this portion heavily, but back in 2017, Nintendo was going through a revolutionary switch in the company. With the Nintendo Switch on the horizon and new games afloat, the company was willing to do anything to establish the Nintendo Switch as its new primary system, games included. Genre-defining titles such as The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Odyssey are the immediate thoughts of this, but there was a game that launched year one of the Switch as well that gets thrown under the radar, and that's a genuine shame. I'm talking about the underrated gem, Mario + Rabbids Kingdom Battle. Now I remember when this game was first revealed and people were shitting on it, and to be honest with you, I'm sure I probably did as well. But the game came out on August 29th, 2017, and I got it launch day. I went years without playing the game. It would just sit in my little yellow bin of Switch games for years until one day in 2021, I finally decided to look into the game, and from the moment I launched it, I knew it was peak. I'm sorry to say it, man. Now, the story was cute and all that. I honestly don't mind the Rabbids and thought it was a good contrast for Mario and friends. And the game was also visually solid, but that's not what I enjoyed about it. What I enjoyed the most was one reason and one reason only, and that was the gameplay. I truly think this, along with the sequel, might be the most well-polished gameplay I've ever experienced in a game. This genre of game is called turn-based tactics, and for a first experience of that genre, it set the bar extremely high. I'm a sucker for strategy and things that make you think, and I could not even begin to tell you how many times I was doing that in this game. I was using my damn Pro Controller like a whiteboard marker and putting it on my monitor like I was coaching the finals. It was just amazing. The game is usually always discounted on Switch, so I highly recommend everyone play the game and experience it for themselves. Mario + Rabbids Kingdom Battle is ranking number 9 on my all-time game list. I don't want to waste too much time on this game, as I have an entire video detailing my experiences with that I highly recommend you go and watch if you haven't. But to summarize, Splatoon was released in 2015 and is easily the title I associate the most with the Wii U. I fell in love with the characters, gameplay, atmosphere, and overall freshness of the game. The game holds a nostalgic place in my heart, and I'm forever grateful I was around for those early days of Splatoon, because despite me still heavily playing it to this day and the series only going up in popularity, those Splatoon 1 days were something so magical that it can never be replicated. Again, I did want to mention that I have an entire video going into the game that I just made just now, so I highly recommend watching that for my full detailed experience on the game. But in short summary, this is one of the best games on the Wii U, but it's not the best. opinion, this is the best Wii U game. Captain Toad first appeared in Super Mario 3D World, but would later get his own game in November of 2014. As I mentioned earlier, I love strategy and thinking, and while admittedly this isn't the most mind-boggling game out there, it has a truckload of fun and creative puzzles. The game really shines in about every category you can think of. It's not a very large game, so it allows each level to be maximized to its fullest potential both graphically and design-wise. Seeing as how Toad can't jump, each level is carefully crafted around navigating these areas to collect the treasure, and it's just a warm, cozy game that I love. It has damn Captain Toad in it, man. How could you not love him? There are 3 ways to play it, being the Wii U, 3DS, and Switch. The Wii U version does feel better to play as it was specifically designed for that console and its controller, but the Switch version does offer the most content, including paid DLC, which was a blast to go through. The controller changes also aren't bad by any means, so the Switch version is probably the definitive way to experience this classic, and I highly recommend anyone play it. I had very trustworthy parents growing up, so they allowed me to play a lot of games as a kid around my age normally wouldn't have played. The earliest console I can remember playing was the Nintendo 64, which my dad let me keep in my room for years. I think it's because they trusted me and knew I could not only take care of things, but also take care of myself and understand that games are games. So they didn't see much an issue with it. These fucking fireworks, y'all, I'm sorry, man. Unbelievable. Fucking 4th of July, dude. This also extended to playing mature games as well, most notably the Call of Duty franchise. People will say it's the same game every year, and maybe that's true nowadays. I don't really know, I haven't played them much. But back in my day, the games were unique. The most unique, the series' last hurrah until Black Ops 6, hopefully, and most importantly of all, my favorite Call of Duty, is Call of Duty Black Ops 3. The game also came out in my favorite nostalgic year of 2015, and I can't even begin to tell you how many hours I put into this game. I'd come home from school and hop on the game and play it for hours till bed on weekdays and weekends. Being honest, I've never been one to play the story mode in Call of Duty, it's just not my thing, but what I did play here were the multiplayer and the zombies. I'll start with the zombies since I spent less time on it and only ever played one map, but my god what a map it was. I'm of course talking about Shadows of Evil. Shadows of Evil is probably my favorite zombies map of all. I do love my simplistic base game maps of Black Ops 2, but 3 just felt like the right balance of simplicity and innovation. The exclusive characters, the beautiful jazz music, the setting, the map is such a classic to this very day that people still make guides and videos on it in 2024. That's just pure motion right there. The other aspect of Black Ops 3 I played to death was the multiplayer, and man, what a great multiplayer. The exclusive specialists, which I may be wrong on, but I don't believe this has been done since. The multiplayer felt extremely polished, like they really nailed the exosuits from Advanced Warfare and made them so much more smoother. The gun classes were all fun, the melee weapons were always a joy, the maps were beautiful, but above all, the camo hunting. I did do the specialist camos too, and those were all fun, but going for dark matter specifically for the weapons, I think is probably the most fun I've ever had camo hunting in any of the Call of Duty games. Dark matter wasn't the only good camo in that game. Gold was dope, diamond was dope, the Nuketown one was also great. There were so many good skins in there that I couldn't even begin to tell you, man. So, Black Ops 3, I hope 6 is able to replicate even half the magic you had, because my god, what a game it was. I love Black Ops 3, and that is why it is number 6 on my all-time games list. I feel like if you're a true Pokemon fan, one of the games is bound to appear in your favorite games list, and mine is this one, Pokemon Alpha Sapphire. I'm still a big Pokemon fan to this day, but my peak will probably always be that golden 2013 to early 2016 era, at the end of Black and White and all of X and Y. Gen 6 is always going to be my favorite, even though everyone shits on the generation online, but let it be known I've always been a Kalos truther, and someday, the truth will come out. Anyway, so when they announced Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire to release in 2014, I was stoked as it was the perfect blend on Gen 6 and Gen 3, which would end up being my second favorite generation. I remember getting the game for Christmas Eve of that year, and then beat it along with the post-game in just 3 days. I have a lot of attachment to this game, from the Mega Evolutions to the Latios and Latios flying mechanic and that damn beautiful flute sound they'd play every time. I remember spending time decorating my base and all the mystery gift events like the shiny Metagross or the cosplay Pikachus. Best of all was the shiny hunting and the Wonder Trade in this game. Oh my god, man. The amount of times I got hacked shinies from Wonder Trade that I have, it's so embarrassing, but little me thought it was the coolest shit ever. This game, much like Splatoon, is definitely a sign of the times for me, but it's a good feeling. I put over 300 hours into the game, which for a kid in single digits still is absolutely insane to this day. But man, what a wonderful time it was. This is easily my favorite Pokemon game, and did enough to rank 5th on my all-time games list. I want to begin this portion by stating that I differ on which game to place here basically every day, so I'm sort of cheating just a little bit, but I can't help it, plus it's my list, so I mean, like, what are you really gonna do? Pikmin 1 and 3 are both equally deserving of this spot, so I'll quickly go over the pros for each game, though I do have dedicated videos to both games on the channel as well, which I again recommend you go check out. Anyway, so I've told the story about 100 times on the channel, but I'll do it once more. I had always wanted to play Pikmin for years, and the re-releases of 1 and 2 on Switch made my dream finally come true. First, with 1. It was and probably still is to this day the most unique video game I've ever played. I've never seen anything like it, and it's just so beautiful. I love Captain Olimar and the iconic red, blue, and yellow Pikmin. Each world, even the horrible forest navel, all have so much personality and charm to them, and are still my favorite areas in the franchise. The concept of having 30 days to get your parts really immersed me into the experience and makes replaying to get it done in less days really addicting. Then, with Pikmin 3, the game is the most polished it's ever been. All the Pikmin UI is precise and straight to it, the new Pikmin additions, being Rock and Wing Pikmin, are wonderful, and offered lots of diversity. The characters are equally as charming as Olimar, which if you played 1, you would know that that's a very high bar to set, but somehow Charlie, Brittany, and Alf all managed to be able to do that perfectly. The bosses are all really fun. I think collecting fruits is actually the most enjoyable treasure to collect in the series. The music like 1 is also so damn good. It's visually stunning, and I think I can go on and on about my love for both these games, but I do have 2 videos that do that for me. Pikmin is a franchise I am so glad I picked up and fell in love with, but now, we move on to the core 3. These next 3 games are my holy trinity of gaming, and what I consider to be my favorite games of all time. And what a better way to start it off with than Super Mario 3D World! When I got my Wii U in 2014, I got 3 games alongside it: New Super Mario Bros. Wii U, Mario Kart 8, and Super Mario 3D World. I really enjoyed my time with every game I got, though I have the most fond memories over 3D World. What I remember the most is spending my time in World Bowser and being amazed at the graphics and the lighting of the world. I loved playing through all the levels despite my lack of skill back then, trying to get all the stars and stamps over and over again. It wouldn't be until February 2021, however, that this game would be solidified in my top games of all time with the release of 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. First, I'd like to continue with the talk of 3D World. In this port of the game, they perfected the core gameplay to make it the definitive way to play the game. The biggest change for me is the movement speed boost to all characters. This allowed for the game to have this almost arcadic feel to it and made levels flow seamlessly through one another. Another massive change was the addition of online play with friends, and while it being very shaky at times with lag, the experiences of playing through the games with friends is almost like an entirely different game in itself. It's chaos, but a good type of chaos. Then, when you add in other quality of life changes like graphic boosts, colored stamps, and more, this becomes the best version by a long shot. So much so, that I went ahead and 100%ed the game, getting every star, flagpole, and stamp, including the character-specific ones. Then, when you add on Bowser's Fury, a blend of sandbox and 3D World Mario, you make this game go from a pretty good port to a necessity for any Switch owner. In Bowser's Fury, you team up with Bowser Jr. to return his dad back to his normal self. I'll never forget the exciting feeling of encountering Fury Bowser for the first time. It's still the best Bowser has ever looked. Instead of levels, they're all connected into one world, with these cat shines being your objective. They're more like bite-sized challenges or puzzles required to collect them, which is a nice breather and a fun change from the normal level progression. And then that final boss against Fury Bowser, that was just damn cool. Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury places in the top 3 of my favorite games of all time. This is my comfort game. I can play it at any time, any stage of my life, and it will always be a blast. Now we move on to number 2, and this game changed my entire life when I played it. I'm of course talking about If anybody knows me, they know I'm not an RPG person in the slightest. I have very few games that I enjoy from that genre. Pokemon and Kingdom Hearts is really about it. I tried to get into Xenoblade Chronicles, but that just didn't click. I tried with Octopath Traveler and I felt extremely disappointed with it. I could go on with the numerous examples, but it's been displayed enough by this point. Despite this, there was always one series I was curious about: Final Fantasy. The series had always had my interest because of the music. Tracks like Wandering Flame and Macalania Woods were tracks I put on to study or just to breathe, so I'd always wanted to know what the series would be like. When I did research though, I knew I'd run into the same issue as all other RPGs. Sitting on a menu, grinding out the level, these were all major turnoffs for me. I'd figured this was my end, just enjoying the music and the character designs. But in 2020, I'd be able to try out the game in the franchise where I didn't have to adhere to those rules: Final Fantasy VII Remake. Instead of the waiting around on menus, watching them attack, I was able to have full control of the character's actions in real time, never feeling like a level progression mattered, even if it kinda does. Plus, with it being fully remade, I knew now was the perfect chance, so on launch day, I played the first chapter, thought it was really good, and then I didn't touch the game for an entire year plus. I'm not really sure what happened to where I just stopped playing, but I had been meaning to get back into the game, but just forgot to. In November of 2021, I decided to finally sit down and play the game, and from the moment I heard the opening song again, I knew I was about to be taken on a journey. Over the next month and a half, I'd play the game about every night for hours on end, being stuck into the world these characters were in, learning their stories, and falling in love with the writing, music, gameplay, and more. I was so invested in this game, I even did the damn side quests, and I do not ever do that in any game. It sounds dumb, but this game has a lot of meaning to me. I played it during a time in my life where I was going through a lot, and this game was what I'd always play to relieve myself of stress. I truly think it's a game everyone needs to experience. I did enjoy Rebirth for the most part, but Remake is the game that will always have my heart. I was able to put my sister onto this game as well, and the franchise is now our favorite, which is pretty cool to me. The most iconic part of the game to me, however, is always going to be the menu song. I feel like it best reflects the game as a whole. With all this praise being thrown, it's not my favorite game of all time. Before I get to that game though, I did want to give a few honorable mentions out. First, Journey. I truly feel like it's a hidden gem of Sony's, and by far one of the prettiest games I've ever played, if not the prettiest. Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and the entire Super Smash Bros. Franchise. These two were the earliest memories I had of playing fighting games, and they're a top genre for me. Little Big Planet 2. Creative game with a passionate community. I had hundreds of hours of fun with this one. And lastly, Breath of the Wild / Tears of the Kingdom, because of course. With all that being said, it's now time to get to my favorite game of all time, and that is Sega. For longtime viewers, this isn't much of a shocker. Still to this day, my favorite game of all time is Bayonetta. This game will get its own video in the future, probably within the next 2 or 3 videos, so my experience with it prior to playing will be saved for that. But I will tell you all the things I love about this game. The characters are some of the most engaging I've ever seen in a game, most notably Bayonetta herself. The gameplay is addictive and strikes a perfect balance of challenge without ever feeling unfair or broken. The bosses are some of the most insane but fun battles any game can have. Bayonetta is a roller coaster the entire way through. There's never a dull moment with it. The music is also top notch and has everything you need, ranging from hyped up to slow, smooth jazz. I love the little things like the sound effects or the clothing they wear. I love the storyline. I just love pretty much everything about this game. It's a game I will buy on every console I have that supports it because it is that damn good. If 3D World is my comfort game, then Bayonetta is the game that I can play in any scenario. Despite it releasing in 2009, it still holds up incredibly well, and is the same amount of fun regardless if it's the first playthrough or the 50th. There's so much I love about this game and the franchise as a whole, but I figure that's best suited for its own video, so you will just have to wait a little bit longer for that. This was my list of my top 10 favorite games of all time. I know everyone has a different list, so I'd love to hear what yours is in the comments below, as well as what you thought of the video and my list. I wanted to make this video for years, and I had a lot of fun writing it, as it let me relive a lot of my experiences with these games. It was also a nice break from the regular essay game specific videos I do, so that was also nice. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.